Hi there, I'm Danny Henderson, spiritualtherapist.com. And today I'm with these goddesses again. Before I introduce them, let me just say hello. How are you today? There's a lot happening upstairs and downstairs. We're going to get into some of that. I myself have been feeling extremely lightheaded, breathless. I even had that frightening thought, am I having a heart attack? I'm okay with sharing that with you guys, especially because it's quite normal right at this moment to feel really abnormal. So we're going to get into some discussions about how we can calm ourselves down, how we can then match the frequency of our energy. It's very important. Ginny is going to lead with that subject. But for the moment, I would like to introduce my lovely girlfriends, Ginny Jablonski. Please say hello, what you do and who you are.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ginny. I am a human and animal soul whisperer. I work with people to help them receive messages directly from their soul that reflect maybe something that they're missing or that they're unable to see, or they've just been struggling about. So that's what I do. I'm also an animal communicator.
One of the best. And Andrea.
Hello, I've been doing past life regression, inner child healing, ancestral timeline healing, and spirit releasement and light language, and between lives and womb healing for 22 years now, full time in the UK, and then whenever I travel abroad as well. And yeah.
I can vouch to you guys watching out there that these two women come with the highest integrity. Otherwise, they wouldn't be on this small but mighty channel. And I love them both very much. And I'm so honored that I'm sharing this journey with them and highlighting their gifts of healing and help and support for all of you out there, and encourage you all to please go ahead and connect with them. Their details are underneath this video that you're watching, like right underneath. The details are always there. They're always there. All right. So I want to talk a little bit first before we get into the subject matter. Andrea, you were mentioning the crop circles in the area that you live. Can you talk about where you live and what you mean by crop circles and what's actually happening there?
Yeah, so I'm in Glastonbury in the UK, but at the weekend I was speaking at a conference called the Basis Conference near Marlborough, which is near Avebury. If people know where Avebury is, it's where the Stone Circle is and it's where Silbury Hill is. But round Avebury and Silbury Hill is a lot of wheat and corn growing, and that seems to be the epicenter of where the crop circles are, which is the formations that appear within the grain that's growing. So most people know, I think, what crop circles are. There is also a lot of military bases nearby. So there is a lot of debate globally, I think, and the UK of whether they are genuine, i.e., they have been made by interdimensional beings, or whether some of them are made by the military, or some of them are actually made by Bob and his friend. So I think, having experienced some of the crop circles, the first time I went in them years ago, I was a little bit skeptical. I thought, oh, here we go. And there was one that actually looked like a caterpillar. And I thought, I'll just sideline that one because that's obviously fake. But when I went in it, I could actually feel these energies. And then there was another one nearby and I went like that. And it's quite good fun because you've got map coordinates and you're trying to find where they are because they're kind of hidden within the crop circle. And then the second one I went in, I just thought I'd been in there an hour, and I'd been in there hours, just hours sat in this crop circle having this experience. So they're all different. And I think when you've been in a few of them, you can feel like, I'm not sure whether that's a genuine one, but you can only go by the experience of how you feel inside these ones, or if you're looking at them, because I think how they're meant to work on us is that we either go in them and experience them, or you look at the image and somehow by looking at that image, it's downloading some coding into you that awakens something within you. That's what I think. And then this weekend, while I was over near those, I just filmed this. I saw this like flash in the sky, and it was bright blue sky. And there was just like this little white flash, but it didn't move. It was in the sky for minutes until I filmed it almost at the end where I could pull over, because I'd been driving following this thing just in the sky. And then as I was filming it, this, you can see it because I've put it on YouTube, but YouTube have started to do like tiny like snips that are just a minute long, so it's down at the bottom in short videos, but it just faded away while I was filming it.
Yeah, there's so much reporting going on this week. Everyone is seeing much more in the sky than ever before, because no longer can the cloaking apparatus be used as they were. And now this week, of course, the James Webb from NASA, well done, NASA, you know, yawn. It makes me so cross that we have to accept how badly we're treated as humans by the powers that are not, and like slowly fed, because they can't hide it anymore. They've lost the game. So now we're all going to be seeing. So I saw your footage, I saw your messages. It was just amazing, Andrea, just so beautiful. And now we're getting all these nebulae, galaxies off distance, and they, oh, we think we detected a heartbeat. Oh, well done, yawn. You know, nice for people that have no concept because they're just so programmed by television and never knew to think for themselves, because you cannot think for yourself, as we know, if you just watch the smelly telly, right?
And the sun is like, it's got like a rainbow around it, and the rays were just like, I took some pictures of the sun which were phenomenal, and then the moon the other night as well had a rainbow around it. I mean, it's really hot in the UK, like we're having a mega heat wave here, but the sun is so powerful, but it's upgrading our DNA codes.
So beautiful. Ginny, what say you? Have you seen anything in the sky recently that you want to report on? Anything about the dimensional shifting and the light codes?
You know, the only thing I've noticed is the movement of the moon, that it seems to me to be moving quite a bit. I'm not an expert. I can't say that I, you know, follow it very closely, but it seems to be acting differently.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's been acting weirdly. I mean, I've been reporting on Facebook for months, like it's not there. And then it is. And then it's over there. Hey, moon, you're in the wrong place. Let's lasso you over here. You know, that's been going on for, goodness me, a good long while now. But again, unless we look up, because we're always on our damn phones, which is the program and the plan, keep us all here, all dumbed down, la, 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 and let us not look up. Because if we look up, we might just see what's actually going on, right? Wouldn't that be amazing? Anyway, Ginny, darling, please could you introduce us to the subject matter today of this very, very important broadcast?
Well, there are a few issues energetically that are coming up for many of my clients. I myself have experienced everything I wanted to talk to you about tonight. I have at least 4 items, 6 if we can get through them, but I know we all have things to share. And these are issues with respect to energetic shifts and what might be holding us back, creating headaches, creating anomalies in the way we feel energetically, not being able to ground, feeling pressure on our head, heavy on our shoulders, that type of thing. And I just thought that we might share as practitioners and therapists our individual experience with these subjects, because I know both of you have a lot of these experiences. So in no order of importance, one thing I wanted to share with the audience, and maybe some people haven't heard of this before, is when we give our crown away to another, and primarily in past lives, many of us have done this. We've given our crown away to a master, a teacher, a guru, a healer. And, you know, as an initiate, as a mentee of a mentor, as a disciple of a master or teacher, as an initiate in a spiritual modality or philosophy or even religious program.
May I say one thing before you continue? I promise not to interrupt. But there are a lot of people watching that don't know what you mean by giving your crown away. And it's really important that they understand that, like the guru capping and all that kind of thing. Could you share a little bit on that, please?
Yes, and I'm leading to that and trying to introduce that I'm not wanting to look at just one vocabulary relationship, such as mentor, mentee, there's disciple, there's initiate, follower, student, right? And so when we give our crown away, what that means on an energetic basis. Now, we may not be, and I would venture to guess we often are not consciously aware when we are doing these things, that we are giving our crown away. And there's a famous man in the Bible that has said, don't give your crown away to another. Nevertheless, what happens energetically is the teacher, the master, the guru does something to our crown chakra, very much like Danny referred to, putting a cap on it, or creating what is akin to a portal or a gateway within our crown chakra to come in and check on us and see what we're doing and make sure, under the auspices of making sure we're using our gifts ethically and appropriately. Unfortunately, what has happened oftentimes is, as with in mythology and old stories, when a mentee-mentor relationship reaches the place where the mentee has grown to the level of the mentor, in ancient times, the mentee had to kill the mentor and replace him or her.
It's a bit extreme. It's a little bit extreme. Right?
Yes. Well, this is what has happened in the past, not only on this planet, but other planets. And so the mentors have taken steps, the gurus and masters, some who are, they might not even know they're dark. They might be being controlled from another being in another experience, or someone they called in when they were lonely. What happens then is we continue to be at their effect. And so many of us are having magnificent experiences. I had a client the other day. She has a horse ranch in Wyoming. She's a lovely woman, 3-4 decades on a spiritual journey. One of the nicest, most grounded, in my perception, elevated people I've ever met in my life. Simple woman, lives on a horse ranch, right? And she went out for a ride with a dozen other people on a horse that I've worked with that does not spook easily. And she had a guru disciple relationship in the past. Her light was shining so bright. They were on this trail. It was magnificent. They had a beautiful day. The guru came in with his anger because her energy was elevated, and trying to put a cap on that, trying to stop her, and introduced anger into her field. And the anger was so forceful that the horse just freaked out, ran and bucked. And luckily she had been thrown a few times in her life, and she's, not going to be thrown again. She held on and wasn't thrown, thankfully. But the horse told me, no, it was anger. It was her anger. And the woman insisted, no, I wasn't angry. And I said, you weren't angry. Your prior guru was angry. And so let's look at this relationship. Now, some people might have this conversation in terms of archetypes. I'm in a mentor-mentee archetype. I'm experiencing that, just like we can experience martyr, empath, saboteur, orphan child archetypes. There are guru disciple archetypes. And I have been in several of these myself, where I will have dreams that are prophetic dreams to help other people, because in another life, they were my guru, they were my teacher. I am the disciple. I am, in service to this person. And it's really important that we begin, in my opinion, it's important to begin to disentangle and release these agreements, these contracts, these ceremonies that we participated in. And when you do, we will all be so shocked and surprised at how easily then we can embody more of our own soul consciousness, our soul frequency, the soul essence is able to come down and sit in our heart and expand and then activate our DNA, activate our psychospiritual apparatus, and allow us to shift into other dimensional templates of consciousness within our reality. Danny or Andrea?
Yeah, can I just say, so when you go to university and you graduate, you wear the cloak, okay, and then you wear the square cap with the tassel on it, which is to symbolize the level of knowledge is capped, like it cannot come from within you, it has to come from you being taught it outside of you, hence why we have the university. Whereas, as we know, the true knowledge comes from inside of you, and that's why we wear this square thing with the tassel, to symbolize the knowledge is capped by an external authority figure, not your internal authority. And I've seen it with clients that I've had who I've gone, oh, you know, you're working for that like guru in this lifetime. Why? And they go, I don't really like him. I don't know how I've got tied up into this. And then we go into the past lives and we see that they're still tied into the contract of working for this guy. And it could be a woman, but predominantly it seems to me, from my experience, males, that they have to renege that contract, take back their power from this guy. Yes, they were destined to meet them in this lifetime, whether it's a male or a female, but that person might be stopping them from evolving. And you see it with spiritual development groups. You know, I've had a lot of clients who go, you know what, I think I know more stuff than the teacher running the group, but she's like pulling me down and stopping me from, you know, and I'm like, yeah, maybe it's time to leave because she's not supporting you to evolve. And the whole thing is, you know, if you're truly assisting people, you're going to help people to, if it's in their path to evolve beyond where your consciousness is at, so be it. You know, the whole thing is we should always be out of a job, because if we're helping people to empower them back to themselves in the true sense of what guru means in Sanskrit, because in Sanskrit, guru means signpost leading to the light. And like any journey you're on, once you know the way, you don't need the signposts. And so once you've reached that level of consciousness, the signposts, or even if you're driving, you don't notice the signposts because you don't need them, you know the way. And so that's the same, I think, with us. You know, you have to be aware at any point that anyone you're helping could exceed your level of consciousness.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very, very true. You know, years ago, I went to Kauai for a spiritual retreat, and I was the last person there and to sign up. And it was run by a woman, and in Kauai, like today, it was so crazy on Facebook. I was scrolling through and I didn't even see the words someone wrote, but I heard this water, this particular sound of water. And there was a blue pool, a little blue pool. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so like the Hindu monastery on Kauai. And it was. My soul recognized the frequency at that place, because I've had 7 beautiful experiences there, because I've never been anywhere else in the world more than I have to the island of Kauai. There, you know, there's a very strict Hindu monastery set up there with the 3 senior monks, and then the, you know, the devotees or the monks in training at the monastery. And you know, I mean, this is such old, ancient training. You know, and in this lifetime, it's like if you go to a Christian church like I used to, and then there's different levels and states to aspire to. It's Bible class, it's this, it's that. And, you know, like you're saying, Andrea, and I know, Jimmy, you work in the same honest way. Like the 3 of us that work in therapies and spiritual mentorings that we do is only ever to uplift, to love, and to say to people, hey, you're brilliant, you're amazing, you're fantastic. You know, and then even yesterday I said that, I think it was Brian Ridgway was saying, like, if any of you guys that have a teacher that you're learning from, a guide, a trainer, whatever, if they cannot accept in themselves learning moments or teachable moments and own it, you might want to move along to another teacher, because all that's presenting is ego. And when I went to Kauai the first time with this woman, I had no idea that she couldn't see what I could see. I had no idea that I was more clairvoyant than she'd ever been. And I didn't know that there was no guidance. She was just pissed off at me. She was aggressive. She humiliated me and she shamed me in front of this group. And I was too shy to speak up and say, bitch, do you want to smack? You know, I would never have done that at the time, right? I just didn't want to, like, it was just so awful. You know, I just went in my room and I cried. You know, I was just like, I can't believe you're being so unkind to me when I trusted you and paid you to come on this trip and learn. I'm so open to learning. And so, you know, it goes both ways. And anyway, she's gone on to do her own thing. But I hope that she learned, you know, that she had a massive ego and she decided to see me as a threat when I was the furthest thing. I was really vulnerable, the furthest thing from being a threat to her. So yeah, so getting stuck in that guru loop and not believing that we have to feel our own way into a level of training and go, you know what, I think I'm good now. Or let me take a break over here. And, you know, and it's like, let's say, for example, that you have a client, Ginny. I absolutely 100% know that if you felt Andrea had something that she could offer that was different, but blending and supportive, you'd have no problem recommending Andrea, would you?
No, 100%. I do it all the time. In fact, I recommend other people on my website. I often do. And yeah.
It's important. And Andrea, I know, you know, you speak for yourself, but I know that you have the same heart, right?
Yeah, I mean, I did have an experience when I was, you know, going through my big awakening back in the day, 20 years, you know, one of the things that happened, because this is relevant to the whole story, is, you know, I had this rash over my right eye and I never normally got spots or pimples or things. And I couldn't get rid of this rash. And I was telling my friend, you know, what was going on, and I was doing psychometry, and she said, oh my God, I've got this woman you should speak to. She does psychometry too. So I ring this lady, and this lady over the phone says, do you have a rash over your right eye? I'm like, oh my God, I do. And she said, there's something you're not seeing. And so the next day, this rash disappears, but this woman says I have to go to see her, which was part of my spiritual journey and awakening. So off I go on the train to see this lady. And it was the first time in my life I ever saw anybody do transfiguration. So I get to this lady's house. She showed me these books of channeling she's got. And I'm like, wow. And then she turns into this Chinese man. Okay. So I'm like, oh my God, because I've never seen anyone. And if nobody knows what transfiguration is, it's when their face literally transposed to someone else. So she was a white English woman, but she became this Chinese man. And he's like, spouting all this like absolute wisdom, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to remember every word he said. And the only sentence I came out of this thing with, and I was there from 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I came home on the train at 4 o'clock in the morning from being at this lady's house, was I remembered one sentence, which you are your mother's daughter, but you do not carry her afflictions. And this woman had to, she knew, when my friend, I've missed a bit of the story. So when my friend told her about me, she said, oh my God, I've been waiting for this girl to contact me for 6 months. As your friend got long blonde hair with blue eyes, and my friend said, yeah, oh my God, you've got to call this woman, like, you know, because, you know, in the beginning of your awakening, everything's like, oh my God, how exciting. You know, like, it's all like one exciting thing after the other. So I came home, and this woman, you know, obviously through this Chinese guy that transfigured, she opened something really big for me. But then of course, very quickly, I, you know, was developing left and right because I was in a group and this and that. And, you know, and then, you know, my story ended up on TV doing past life regression. And she got really jealous of that. And she, you know, wanted something from me then. But I was like, what do you want? I don't know. What do you want? I can't give you. I don't know what it is, because it's inside you. Whatever it is you want from me is inside you. So you got to, I can help you find that inside of you. But it was like, I don't know, she thought that somehow I could give her something. And the other thing that I'll just add is, and this could be anybody listening, sometimes people want what you've spent lifetimes and many journeys in many star systems to gain the knowledge and wisdom on where you personally are at. And there are people who maybe have negative beings attached to them, or it's their ego. And if they're trying to get knowledge out of you that is not inside them, they sometimes do it in nefarious ways. And you might feel like you've got a pain here, or you've got like them tapping into your head, like it's boring a hole in you.
Yeah.
And if you feel like that person's trying to suck your knowledge out of you so they can gain it, which is probably stuff they did in ancient lifetimes in some dodgy mystery schools, trust to that, you know, protect yourself energetically, send them love, but you don't necessarily need to be around them if every time you're around them you feel like they're doing that to you. Have you had those experiences?
Go ahead, Jenny.
Yes, and both. The experience that Danny talked about, going to the retreat and having the leader be invalidating and unkind, I've had that in spades several times. That happened to me. And I've had healers that I've gone to, or teachers that I've gone to. I've been visited at night by aspects of them, angry. I've had one then tell me consciously, I feel betrayed by you. I've had energetic interference. Of course, my own wounds allowed some energetic interference, more than some on my journey. You know, please know that. No, nobody out there, we're not pointing fingers, because all these things have happened to us. This is how we learned about these things,
Yeah.
right? And this is what causes all of us eventually to go on a journey and be an archaeologist of our own consciousness, to find those places where we have judgments for other people. And it is, generally speaking, the judgments that create the emotion that, you know, create the opening for other people to do things to us. But just to round out the conversation about masters, mentors, mentees, gurus, and teachers, if someone out there is needing this, and I'm certain there are a few who would need this, I just want to share quickly 2 ways that it revealed itself recently to me. So I do group meditations a couple of times a month, and I set up my space really well. I mean, I have I think, a high level of energetic hygiene. And so I prepare myself before the client. I set up my space after the client. I debrief with myself energetically. I have animals. I want to make sure my animals are safe, my property is safe, my husband is safe, because my husband and I both work at home. So I do a lot of looking at what is happening as a result of, or a byproduct of, a healing that I just did, a conversation, an intuitive facilitation that I have with other people. And sometimes I see other aspects, the gurus, the masters, whomever, coming through, preventing the person from hearing the truth or seeing the truth in groups where I have a group meditative type setting. I set up really super strong boundaries. And oftentimes people have such strong agreements with their gurus or their mentors that no matter what I've done, something will come through and channel through that person and try to start healing other people in the group. And I have strict rules. You know, we don't heal one another. We provide information. People that work with me have the definition of a healer as someone who is a teacher that helps you remember that you are your own best healer, right? So in a group, I can see what's going on. And when people's souls, or, you know, aspect of them, start going over and trying to heal other people and creating entanglement, that's a problem. And that's an example of how a really strong agreement with a guru prevents people both from healing in a spiritual setting and in trying to interfere with other people's healing in a spiritual setting. These things happen. They happen a lot. I mean, I've seen them once a month, maybe once every 2 months. I see some version of this, but in my clients, it comes up that it's just time to release that now, more often than not, 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And what we can do to release ourselves from that is to just say, if it is true, I shine the light of truth on myself. if it is true that I have ever given my crown away to another, if it is true that I am operating within a mentee mentor archetype, a disciple master archetype, a student teacher archetype, or through any religious experience or spiritual experience, I've ever given my crown away to another, I revoke that agreement. I cut the cords. I give back to everybody what belongs to them. I call back to me, purified what belongs to me. And I choose to reclaim my power, and I choose to reclaim my sovereignty. I am a divine, infinite, sovereign being of light, and I am ready to transcend this duality, domination, and control, service to self way of life. This is not working for me anymore. So that's just one way that someone can do that. So Danny, would you like to continue with other topics?
I love this topic because I think that we have a duty on this channel to give people warnings and love and validation. And, you know, sometimes unless you hear someone saying that don't give your crown away, don't suck up to a guru, don't become a devotee and give all your energy, because what people don't always realize also is when they're obsessed with a spiritual teacher or leader of some regard, or even a movie star, whatever, these people have an ability to run their energy through your body and take your energy. And I've seen it done, and I shall not name the name. He's no longer on the circuit, but there was a man who wrote a really great book. The book's great, and he lived in California, and he lived in a house with these women, devotees, just gave up their life for the guru. Oh, I have to live to the guru. He might fall in love with me and marry me. No, he may have shagged around a bit, but he certainly didn't make any one of those poor girls his wife. We hear it, we see it, we know it. It'll probably keep continuing. I hope it doesn't. But what this man was doing, he'd get on stage and he'd have the girls, the women, alongside, in front, and he was running his energy through their field, taking their energy so he could perform as the great magician. You know, so again, it's just good to look at these kinds of things. And I think for me, the number one key is if someone isn't genuinely humble, because you know, people that, crocodile tears, and we go, oh, the guru is crying, the guru is crying. He's so vulnerable. I love him even more. You know, we have to feel into that. You can tell in the eyes, in the face, in the way you feel, the way somebody makes you feel, if they're real or not. So now is the time more than ever to trust yourself, because really, we're all gurus. There's a guru within, and it's your soul frequency, love, energy, brilliance, genius. And it's about finding that and being with that. Andrea, any final thoughts on that concept?
Yeah, I think, I don't know whether we should mention this person because there's been a big documentary about them recently, but I wasn't even discussing their work today. I just mentioned this and people got really upset. I had to block a few people because they got so upset and they misunderstood what I was saying. And I think maybe it's another topic around paying for spiritual stuff around that. And it was like, of course, you know, you decide within yourself what your price, what your value is. But what I was questioning was if you were going to an event, okay, where you're all going to be in the same room together, surely the ticket should be the same price, okay? You shouldn't pay more money to be, 4 rows nearer the front than you are 4 rows back. At a spiritual event, okay, I get in the 3D matrix. If you go to a concert, you can pay more money to sit in different sections. And if you get to meet the celebrity, you maybe pay money for that. But I was looking at this event, and this event, the ticket started at £90 for meeting this, going to the spiritual event. But if you actually got to meet the spiritual teacher, it went from £90 to £1,200-ish. And I was like, but this is supposed to be a spiritual teacher. And then if you wanted to sit nearer the teacher, you paid extra money to get nearer the front. Personally speaking, I don't feel that is in alignment to source energy. If it's an event in a room, surely all the tickets should be the same price. Surely it should be whoever gets there first gets whatever seat. That's how it rolls. That's just my opinion. But people got very offended by that.
You know, it's just so interesting. This is an area and a subject that, you know, I myself have been training in this year, putting on the biggest event in disclosure on the entire planet. And, you know, behind the scenes, what people don't realize, if you hold an event at a hotel, there is a massive bill that you pay to the hotel. You have to book a certain amount of rooms. You are on the line for every penny. Then, like for me, I mean, you're talking about one particular spiritual teacher. Like, let's take my event or our event, the galacticspiritualinformers.com, the biggest event of the year. The pedigree and caliber of the speakers coming, Dr. Michael Salla, Alex Collier, Elena Danaan, Tony Rodriguez, Brad Olson, Laura Eisenhower, Lowell Johnson, who went into Inner Earth, and so many other great speakers. They all need paying. And there's a whole nonsense around, but this is an old program, guys. This is such a good subject. It was one I've been thinking about for the last 6 months. We are programmed, you shouldn't get paid if you're spiritual. That's bullshit.
Absolutely.
So lawyers study, spiritual teachers study, like it is so, but this is what we've been programmed, because the disgusting non-entities that run our planet, they do not want any of the spiritual people to grow and develop or make money or be able to be successful in training, teaching, and sharing knowledge. So it's mocked and it's scorned. Oh, it's spiritual. And if anyone can't accept that, let's say, for example, the event, the Galactic Spiritual Informers event, that these speakers get paid thousands of dollars, some of them, they are flown in, their rooms are paid for, they have spent a lifetime suffering, studying, learning to bring information to our planet, to share information on our planet. You bet your ass that there's going to be different price tickets at certain things. Like, for example, you know, we're doing early bird tickets. Next month, they're going up. But there's not going to be any of what you're speaking. There's going to be no
that's
VIP.
Not what I'm saying. It's the, like, if you paid X amount, you got to sit in the front row. But if you didn't, and you're 5 rows back, you paid a bit less. I have an issue with that.
Yeah.
I don't have an issue with early bird because I've run events, and people don't realize, like exactly what you say, they don't realize how much the venue costs, how much you pay for a caterer, how much you've got to pay for the rooms. People don't see any of that, and paying for people to help you, you know, all these things.
Yeah, it's massive. It's massive. So again, it's easy to point. It's supposed to be spiritual. Shouldn't this be free? You know, I'm like, get out of your bedroom, get your ass on a plane and go be with, because again, we're so spoiled with instant gratification. Switch on YouTube, there's 10 people talking about really interesting subjects, and you know, but the person's just watching, absorbing, and maybe not taking any action, not really embodying the information they're just so addicted to because it's telly. This is the TV now. BoobTube is the television now. You know, we get our daily feed, we get addicted to speakers, and also the people that do their shows, oh my goodness, it is so clear. When you see some in particular, they're filming themselves all day long. They're doing a YouTube video, they're doing an interview, they're on Instagram, beautifully positioned, you know, just the sexy shots. Look at me, I'm so sexy. Follow me, follow me. You know, just everyone right now, this is the time to really discern and really trust. And if you don't trust someone, don't watch them for a while. But look at yourselves, guys. Are you getting addicted yourself to somebody on this platform? Just be mindful, look after yourself, because we care about you. We really do. Ginny, let's move to your next part of the conversation, please.
So here's another item that I don't hear discussed publicly a lot, and I really think it should, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. I think oftentimes, especially people who study dream analysis or lucid dreaming, or think about our souls astral traveling at night when we're asleep, there's a lot of conversation about us going and, you know, being taught, or even going into crystalline cities or on ships at night. You know, I personally don't remember any of that, so I can't say whether that's happening to me or not. I definitely had a client call me recently, Danny, and say, I was on a ship last night and you and Danny were there and you guys had 80s hair.
That sounds more like a fantasy to me. But anyway,
I know.
Dharma didn't have 80s
I don't
hair.
know if I don't know if that's true or not. But what I do resonate with is that we do astral travel in the night. And according to my soul, we do it for various reasons. One could be that we're traveling and visiting other aspects of ourselves, you know, and contributing in some way or gathering information in some way. And that's not hard to believe considering the times we're in on Earth right now, right? Mm-hmm. But the point I want to make about it is, in order to travel, in order to time travel, in order to astral travel, we travel in a body, And people refer to that as the astral body. And that astral body, and there are a few different psycho-spiritual perspectives on this. I'll give my perspective. Michael Tamura, who, Danny, as you know, came from the Berkeley Psychic Institute. Yeah. With respect to dreams, he teaches that if when we dream and we leave our body through the crown chakra and come back that way, we don't remember the dream. And often dreams, based on our level of consciousness, is truly traveling to the past or the future, relative, that's our language, right? Past or future, working out issues in past lives. And we don't remember it if we leave and come back through our crown chakra. If we leave and come back through the back of the pranic tube, primarily, I think the solar plexus, but we can travel up and down the back of the spine there through that, the Sushumna and the Antakarana. From a Hindu perspective, there is an apparatus, a psycho-spiritual apparatus that actually records what happens when we astral travel. So if we leave that way, according to Michael Tamura, we remember our dreams. But there's more. And Robert Moss is a wonderful indigenous practitioner who he's written like 9 or 10 books on dream time. There's a Dreaming the Soul Back Home. He's written some really brilliant books. There might be a few interesting people in that shamanic dream work. And there are shamans who specialize in dreaming, dream time, lucid dreaming, journeying through dreams. And that's how they do their work. It's quite fascinating. But what I want to talk tonight is the astral traveling we do actually can bring back entities. I see when I leave my body, and I'm going to give you this from a Taoist perspective, a Chinese medicine perspective. At the base of the spine, in the lumbar spine, in the back of the dantian, is a point called the Mingmen. And look, depending on what Chinese master you study with for 5 or 10 years, you might get a completely different story or philosophy from another one who just lives 100 miles away. So I'm just giving you my perspective. There is a gossamer silver thread at the back of the Mingmen, the lumbar spine, the back of the pranic tube. And for me, when I astral travel, that's where I leave from. From my perspective, that's what orients us in time and space and in timeline, personal timeline and Earth timeline, because we can travel through portals and visit other timelines. And what I experienced for myself was that I had heavily used that gossamer thread, and it was kind of threadbare, you would say, if energy can be threadbare, but I'm trying to give a visual. And I actually had entanglement with other souls from other lifetimes where I was using, believe it or not, my time travel skills and my astral travel, maybe not in the most appropriate, ethical, or energetically clean way. And we can get attachments in that way, as well as bring back astral entities. It is certainly not the only way you can get them from going to the grocery store. We've talked about that before, but this is really important. And so, Danny, I've discussed with you and shared with your audience on maybe 2 months ago, a video where I have this process I call the spiritual car wash. And I ask for the light of grace and the violet flame and for attachments from the surface of the auric field, because I see we're all gummed up in this reality in like the outer bubble, the surface of the luminous architecture, the auric field. Well, we can use that spiritual car wash technique that I teach And I call it the spiritual car wash because it's silly and I hope everybody remembers it. So, we can't take ourselves too seriously and we need to help people remember these things.
Please share it. Please share it for those that haven't, because it's such a good subject to cleanse and clean. Please share it.
Yeah. Every time I come home from the grocery store or going to buy dog food or hay for my horses or what have you, go to town to, grab something to go from a restaurant, I always feel heavy. And I always feel that. And, years ago, maybe 6-8 years ago, after my second near-death experience, I could see everybody was walking around, most everybody, even spiritual teachers, even yoga masters, walking around with this dark molasses and you could barely see their light. And I was like, what's in there? So I asked my soul, what is that? Why does everybody have this gunk on them? And my soul said, my soul is so happy I'm sharing this right now. My heart is just lighting up. Yeah. My soul said, and my heart said, oh, that's everybody else's opinions, their projections, their shoulda, woulda, coulda, you're not pretty enough, tall enough, what have you, right? And the judgments, there's something wrong with you or what have you. It's everybody else's opinion. And I said, well, do I have that? Well, yeah, duh. Yes, you do. You have it in spades. So I said, what do we do about it? So my soul gave me this process. So this is the process. I hope everybody enjoys it. I ask to be placed in a bubble of grace. And the light of grace is like a coming home. It helps you feel safe. It's not accusatory. It's like going to grandma's house on Sunday morning when you're a kid and you're just going to get that spaghetti and meatballs or whatever that might have been, special pot roast, right? I ask to be placed in a bubble of grace. And then number 2, I shine the light of grace down on me 360 degrees all around the outside surface of my auric field. Now, this is like giving your energy field a hug. And make no mistake, your energy field is consciousness too. I mean, my thing is I perceive everything as consciousness, which is why people call me a soul whisperer, because I communicate with consciousness. Everything is consciousness, including your energy field. And it can make a different choice than you are consciously making a choice, I promise you. So allowing it to feel safe is really important. You're not bracing, you're not telling it there's something wrong with it. You have to heal, you must heal, there's something wrong with you. It's a gentle frequency that comes in and says, everything's going to be okay. There might be some crystallized frequency here, emotion, thought, projection here. We're just the cleanup crew. We're going to come in and take care of this for you. And then you sort of feel your shoulders lower from your ears, right? And you sort of feel this peace come over you, or most people will, at least that's what I hear in the feedback. Then I bring in the big guns. I ask that the violet flame of transmutation shine down on me 360 degrees all around the outside surface of the auric field, of my auric field, to cleanse away everybody else's thoughts, feelings, emotions, opinions, projections, everything that does not belong to me. I shine the light of truth on myself. And where I have cords or attachments or entities, I ask my higher self to remove these to their appropriate realm. So that's the spiritual car wash. And I teach my students to use the spiritual car wash for our astral body. And so this can happen 2 ways. When I suggest this to people right away, their astral body will pop out of their back or come up out of their head and then be placed in a bubble of grace. Imagine every night for 50 years traveling in the astral realm. You don't think we accumulated some distortion there? Because I've never met a person ever whose astral body was like a body of glass. In other words, not rigid, but that you could see through it. That it was just this pure light. And people aren't talking about this. People aren't thinking about this, our own spiritual hygiene. So you can use the spiritual car wash for the astral body as well. And then secondly, at the end, right, I shine the light of truth on myself. And if it is true that I have picked up any hitchhikers when I've been astral traveling on that gossamer thread that orients me in time and space, I ask that they be removed to their appropriate realm, right? For the highest good of all. And then if for whatever reason we have become entangled with a soul because we've just been with them for thousands of years and we never remember, or if we have agreements, you can then be made aware. Your soul or your guides, your benevolent, loving guides can let you know, well, yeah, you do have another hitchhiker, but you need to do a little more work. You need to revoke an agreement or something like that. So that I thought was another one of the important things, Danny, that we should all share about.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things that people forget in this modern era is before they go to bed, you know, one of the things I'm really hot on, I mean, if you saw me here, I have Ethernet cables, I don't even have Wi-Fi in my house, is to turn the Wi-Fi off. And now everyone's got Apple phones. Take your phone off. Or, you know, they say, oh, my partner sleeps with their phone, you know, which is like same as having a phone. Turn your phone off, don't have them in your room. And then they're like, oh, but how am I going to know the time or wake up? Get a cheap alarm clock. They're about £1 or $1 or something. Just get a cheap. You don't want that technology because it will corrupt your dream time and your where you go astrally and energetically, because that is AI. It's false intelligence interacting with you, and it will affect where you go, and you'll get hijacked in the dream time. So set your intention, get some organized, you know, whatever Ginny said as well. And how easy is it to forget? We forget. We just go, oh, I'm going to sleep. And to set your intention, I'm only prepared to go where's benevolent for me in my physical body now, because this physical body is where you're living. You're in this. This body is super important. You know, I have clients telling me, oh, you were doing this in this dimension in dream time. I don't consciously remember any of these things that other people have told me where they've experienced me in their dream. I have no memory of it, you know, but they're having those experiences because they're sharing them with you. But I'm very clear to, on the odd occasion where I've fallen asleep, very rarely, by maybe in a hotel, I've had my phone with me and I've woken up and thought, oh my God, I feel like hell. What's going on? And it's always because you've had the phone next to you, you know? So I think it's so bad. And I think so many people sleep with that phone under their pillow, and then they wonder why they get lumps and bumps and tumors and things. And it does actually say on it that you're not meant to have it within so many meters of yourself, on their own little warning things.
Yeah. Andrea, I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because that reminds me of something that I had to do on my journey. And we can ask our soul not to travel through multiple portals in the night. My soul was going through dozens of portals and just going and having a great time and thinking it was fulfilling its soul mission. I don't know what the heck it was doing out there. And I would wake up exhausted. And so I was suggested to me to ask my soul not to travel through more than 5 portals, but now I'm down to like 2. If we can't accomplish it in 2 portals, it's not my job. You know, that's above my pay grade, you know? So thank you for reminding me of that.
And the other thing that, you know, whenever people have told me, oh, you were doing this with me in dream time, or this, I'm like, listen, I don't mind helping these people in other dimensions as long as it's not taking my energy from this reality. You know, I don't want to be doing all this stuff in these other times when if I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, I'm exhausted in this reality, because this, you know, it's the permission. Like, it's all well and good teaching these things in other dimensions, but if that's taking from your life force in this dimension, in this reality where you're existing now, then it's not benevolent to you. And you know, you don't want to get into astral martyrdom. Right. Going in the astral realms, you're involved in martyrdom, martyring yourself to everything.
Oh my God.
Absolutely. That's very important. And I've had people tell me too, you came to me in my dream last night and I would check in and it wasn't me. It was a being pretending to be me because they would trust me, but they didn't have the discernment to know if it was me or not. And so I always say to my clients, by the way, I will never visit you in your dream time. My soul would just never do that.
That's a very, very good point. So a couple of things here. Andrea, I'm going to come back to you in a second because I'd love for you to share one of your own kind of techniques, as Ginny has shared, to help as many people as we can. And for me, what I want to say is, like today, when I was feeling extremely like off kilter, like not really in my body, heart palpitations to a degree that was not good. So I know to calm, I use all my tools, all my skills. And then I sat with you, beautiful friends. And then you just kind of helped me course correct energetically before we got on this broadcast. But again, student learning, teachable moments, right? Never to think, oh, I am too powerful. I'm the queen of the world. No. So I saw before I got on with you guys, I was in the shower and I was so shaky. I thought I was going to pass out. That's how, and this can be ascension symptoms, you guys out there too. So, but I sat down in the shower, and then as the water was coming through, I was imagining that was light, and it was cleansing and washing my field, my electromagnetic field, my auric field, all behind, like right underneath the shower, sitting down. And then I was taking the breath in through the nose, releasing dopamine, endorphin, and serotonin, and then putting my hand on my belly and pushing that air down, down, down to oxygenate the blood cells. So doing that, and I've taught that technique many times on my little channel, and it just works. It just got me kind of back in the body more than I was before I got in the shower. And then I've always taught several times the silver sleeping bag, guys. We do not need to be leaving our bodies at night. You can tell your children this technique and do it for yourselves. We don't, like Ginny says, spiritual martyrdom, yawn. I mean, all that work and no one's going to remember anyway. Right? What a waste of time. So, you know, the universe isn't going to fall down if you are not out there astral traveling. Some of us have got to take better care of ourselves right now. So what I do is I imagine zipping myself up into a silver sleeping bag, like zipping myself up all the way up to here. It has a hood that comes over. And on the inside, there's nothing but light. I am bathed in light inside this silver sleeping bag. And my statement is, I am not astral traveling. I'm not traveling ethereally, astrally, magically, or any other bloody way. My body and my soul is staying home, and I'm going to get some rest. On that, too, an aside, Andrea, before I come to you, one time years ago, I was reading a book. I was in my 20s, and it was The Children That Time Forgot. And it was all about these children who remember their past lives. The general age of this to happen is generally between the age of 3 and 4, when children really have their cognizance, their vocabulary skills, and they are still so close to spirit that they have all those memories before adults come along and ruin everything. Anyway, so I read this book and I fell asleep reading it. And the next thing I know, I'm in an awakened state, in a lucid vision. And I know that I'm in heaven because I've been there before. I've been to that realm before. And so I'm walking over a bridge and I'm wide awake and I'm pinching myself, which is what I do. If it hurts, I'm wide awake in this reality. If it doesn't, I'm wide awake in another. So I'm going along and I meet this old lady and she's so lovely and elegant and her hair's in a bun. There's an old man next to her and they're like saying hello and they're really loving. I'm like, oh, hi, it's so nice to meet you. And she told me a couple of things about my future that did come to pass, that did come true. And then I remember waving at them and walking backwards over the bridge, waving, walking back the way I came. Next thing, I'm coming back into my body with a bump. I literally came face back into my body and went, whoa, whoa. It was crazy. And I'm like, oh my God, that's how I leave. I go out the front door. I go outwards like this. You know, so it's cool and it's fun and all the rest of it, but we do have the control. We can control that. And if there's anyone out there, like I know there are people that use people's energies. There are people that prey on people and they invoke to take their energy while they're astrally sleeping. That's why, guys, spiritual hygiene, ramping up your own security. It might sound like we are completely mad and that's fine too. I don't care what you think if you think that. I just send you love. Bye-bye, move along. For those of you that do feel that something might be being manipulated in you, then please, the tools that these women have and myself, really, really valuable. Andrea, please share one of your security techniques.
Well, just in, because I speak light language such a lot, I'm aware that, I go to different supermarkets, but there's one particular supermarket that whenever I go there, I don't know why, I just hear myself going, and I do this and it just, I feel like I don't care. I need to do that as I go up and down the aisles in this particular supermarket. But I feel like I've got to, I know I'm changing the frequency for myself to feel okay in there. Whatever is in there, I have to do this. Or, the universal sound, I speak many light languages, so I mutter away to myself sometimes. But if you don't speak light language, you can use universal sounds like, even that, like, it's going to change the frequency because sound is everything. So then you can use the universal hue. Hue. We can all do hue.
Mhm.
And that will just affect you. I always have people work with sound because sound is so healing, and sound is like a bubble of protection as well. So just making different sounds. And if you feel blockages in your throat, is like E, and then for your heart, so all those sounds are helping to heal you. So that I use sound probably a lot as protection. And I've got a little chart on my website with all the sounds that you can make to help protect yourself. I mean, I think for me, probably sound, or occasionally if I felt like, oh, I'm going into a situation where I don't want anyone to be nobbling me, and I know they've got, skills and gifts, especially Glastonbury, because you're not dealing with 3D people, you're dealing with people throwing at things energetically, and you can be walking through somewhere and in the middle of stuff. So I just put like mirrors that face outward around yourself, just mirrors, so people don't see you, they see themselves.
This is brilliant. Excuse me, I'm just I'm putting off because we are running over time, but it's too good. This is too good because it's so beautiful for people to learn all these different spiritual security techniques, especially now, especially. So I was just texting my next meeting to go longer. So because it's awful if someone's on their phone, especially on a live broadcast. Good heavens, how rude. It's interesting what you say about Glastonbury. Glastonbury, for those that don't know, is one of the epicenters on our planet for spirituality, for people. There's a cathedral there. There's the tour, the Glastonbury tour, which is a partial building, the Chalice Well. It's an amazing place. On the ley line with Avebury, which you mentioned earlier, where most of the crop circle activity in the world tends to be, Salisbury Hill being the prehistoric man-made mound, with some people say it's our pyramid, and then on the other ley line, like an isosceles triangle, we've got Stonehenge. So they all meet up, and you live in Glastonbury.
And then from Glastonbury it goes to St Michael's Mount on the Michael and Mary ley line, all the way to Cornwall to St Michael's Mount, which is a castle in the sea, which is twinned with Saint Michel in France, where there's a castle in the sea as well. So energetically, all these ley lines and energy grids line up. But where you've got places where people are knowledgeable, there's a lot of energy and negativity as well. So you have to really, I couldn't live in the center of Glastonbury. I live outside, but I can see the tour. And if you go on my Facebook page, I made a beautiful video yesterday of, the silhouette of the tour, because I can see the tour with the sun setting every night, which is really beautiful. But it's intense to live in the middle of places where there's energy sites. So sometimes I think it's more benevolent to yourself to live further away. And often they talk about these places, whether it's Sedona or Glastonbury, they say that it's a place of pilgrimage. It's not a place necessarily to live full time, day in, day out. It's a place you go to and then you leave.
Yeah, quite incredible. And every kind of person you could possibly imagine that deems themselves to be of spiritual nature, whether it's dark magic, white magic, high spiritual, love, whatever, they all live there. They all live in Glastonbury. Yes, they do. Yes, you do. And hello to you. Hello. So is there any final technique that you would like to gift us before we move on to the next segment?
I can't think of anything just now.
What you gave us was completely brilliant. Ginny, over to you, my love.
So the next thing, thank you, Danny. The next thing I wanted to talk about today is some of the ascension symptoms we're all having. And again, you know, the heaviness, pressure on the head, headachy, feeling like our feet are in mud. For me, if this is something that I'm actually experiencing actively, it'll feel like somebody's taking a taser to my feet. You know, it'll zzz, 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 and literally I can feel my nerves vibrating as if somebody was shocking me with electricity. And it's the message to me that I'm not grounded in the right dimensional reality on.
She's frozen.
Oh, she froze in a very interesting part of her
So
conversation.
I don't know
Oh,
if
she's
anybody
back.
else has experienced.
Oh,
Oh
Darling, we lost you.
gosh.
There you
Can
go.
Can you see me
Yeah.
now? Okay.
Yeah, go back. Go
Yeah.
back for the last minute. We missed the last minute.
oh, she's gone again.
Isn't this fun? She's teleporting, people. She's teleporting, I tell you.
Maybe it's time
Did you
for
hear me
us to
talk
go.
about my feet vibrate?
Ginny? Ginny?
Can you see me now? Can you see me now?
Yes, yes,
Am I back?
yes.
Okay. I think somebody doesn't want me to talk about this. Okay. So a lot of people in my reality, maybe I talked about with Andrea about this, and she said she wasn't having this experience in her reality bubble, but in my reality bubble, this is happening. People falling down, tripping over their dogs, getting kicked by their horse, breaking a wrist, a lot of stumble and fall, getting dizzy. And from my perspective with my clients and myself, what this is not being aware that our earth star chakra is allowing us to upgrade to another level. Just like our chakras within our body and above and below our body have different levels, layers, dimensions to them, our earth star chakra does as well. Some people see the earth star chakra as a sphere. Some people see it as a diamond. Some people see it as a disc. Like a frisbee disc. Some people see it as a box, like a 4-inch tall sort of box or a platform, and some people see a set of stairs. And what I see happening with myself and my clients is that our etheric template is trying to activate to the next level, but before it can, we need to be grounded into the right earth construct, consciousness construct, and that happens from my perspective through the earth star chakra. So if you feel like you're dizzy or you don't understand why you have this pressure, or you're getting a lot of energy in your feet, or you feel like you're stuck in the mud, put your hand on your heart and ask if you are attached to the right dimensional construct through your earth star chakra. It doesn't matter what it looks like to you. Ask if there is another perspective available to you, another reality perspective available to you through your earth star chakra. If the answer is yes, it will appear to you. The disc might get bigger. The diamond might turn to something else. The platform might get bigger. Another stair step might reveal itself to you. Now, if you're not meant to go up another level within that earth star chakra, you won't. It's not going to happen no matter how hard you try. But if you're meant to, that will help your energy to come more into alignment. And the etheric template, the next level of the etheric template, which creates the non-physical body, which creates physical form, will allow us to move into that next level of physical reality where we can receive our healing, our DNA can be activated in that type of thing. So I strongly suggest people take a good hard look at their earth star chakra right now if they're finding themselves out of balance. And then once you do step on to another step or platform, or the sun gets bigger or the disc gets bigger, then you come into alignment with the appropriate level, the appropriate consciousness construct within this reality for you. And I like to use language, align, align, align. And you can put one finger between your eyebrows, one finger on your brainstem, and say,
Align,
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 align.
align.
And now, will that be permanent? In my experience, it is not, because I live in a bubble on a ranch with 4 horses, 4 donkeys, and 3 dogs. And my husband and I, and there's hardly anything negative that happens in a month here. I mean, if one of my daughters is upset or something, there'll be a little bit of emotion. But when I go to the grocery store or Home Depot or Costco or something, and I come home, I'll be wonky. I'll get a headache. I'll feel like there's something wrong with me, because I forget that when I leave, I get kicked back down to a prior dimensional consciousness construct. And so my soul will be like, remember, you need to step up back on that platform again. Of course, it's a metaphor by using language like step up, but that is one way that you can visually perceive, visualize it, feel it. It's a sense of stepping up. When someone says, oh, just raise your frequency, or, just turn the dial and tune into another radio station, that's not very tangible for some people. So the visual that I'm giving, I'm hoping is helpful.
So for those that don't know, what is, just, and very briefly before, because we want to hear about the puppies, the new puppies that you've got, you being the amazing soul whisperer to animals that you are. They literally talk to you. The communications are off the charts, guys. The Earth Star Chakra, what does it look like? Where is it? And how do people access it, see it, find it, please?
Well, different spiritual philosophies have different ideas on it. And, it depends if you talk to Barbara Brennan or Cindy Dale or, whomever. And so my perception of the Earth Star Chakra is it's about a foot or so below the feet. I do see it like a box, like it's about, to me, mine is about 16 inches square, about 4 inches high, like a platform or a box. Other people and my clients see it differently. And I think that's a soul lineage thing. It's a soul experience thing. It's a preferred galactic perspective, belief system or opinion, right, about how the universe works. None of that matters to me. We can all see differently. It's, can we perceive energy? Can we shift the frequency? That's, what matters to me. Generally speaking, it is understood, I think, that the Earth Star Chakra does connect us. We are here on Earth in this timeline. It's, January 13, 2022. And which consciousness grid of the planet are we tapped into, right?
Did you say January?
It's July, darling.
Oh, I'm
July.
sorry.
It's Juliet. What timeline are you on?
Zoom messed up and I went through a portal and I don't know where I am because I'm not in control of my consciousness. I'm sorry. So some people believe that the Earth Star Chakra, and this is fascinating, and I see this to make a lot of sense for my clients, that the Earth Star Chakra holds the genetic information for us, for our genetic lineage, our ancestry on planet Earth, right? Whereas, some of us don't have all of our strands of DNA activated, so some of us don't see the genetic lineage coming from off planet. So the Earth Star Chakra is a vehicle that allows us to connect to the Earth in this time and space, to which consciousness grid we are connected to on the planet, and it holds all of our genetic information that informs our DNA, biological mother, biological father, and their ancestors. That information is held there. That's a nice piece of information to have, actually.
Brilliant, brilliant. Andrea.
Ooh, I think this is such a lot of information.
Yeah.
I think going back a bit, I broke my ankle in 2019, so maybe I experienced those things back then, but personally speaking, I felt a massive shift. There was a lot of talk about the whole CERN thing around the 4th or 5th of July, 2022, which we're now on the 13th of July. But I felt I had I mean, I always sleep amazingly, but I felt super duper amazingly on the 4th or 5th of July. Like, oh my God, I felt amazing. And since then, everything in my personal reality has been flowing amazingly well. I've been having amazing experiences, but back in 2019, it wasn't so much, and just before, a few weeks before, it's felt like very, wading through treacle. But after the 4th and 5th of July, it's felt super amazing in the UK and in my personal bubble reality. And I think the other thing is we're all in our own reality. So, everybody shares from their perspective of what they're experiencing. But a fascinating experience I did have this week with clients was, I didn't used to record the sessions. So since I worked for many years on Skype, I didn't always record them. But in the last few years, I've recorded them. So people get the file, it's sent to them. And when I see people in person, which I saw some people this week, one guy asked to record the whole thing, but he had a lot of stuff going on. So I ended up giving him an extra hour and a half just so he could get his stuff out to speak. And at the end of it, with this one particular guy, I was like, you know what? I don't think he got anything that I said. I couldn't get through. But the interesting thing is, because he'd recorded it, and the same with another lady, when they heard it back, both of these people were like, oh my God, I couldn't hear what you were saying at the time. Like, I was unable to take on the capacity of what you were trying to tell me. But when I heard it back, I could hear it. And oh my God, there were so many little wisdoms in there. And then with the lady, she felt, I was used to speaking to her, but I hadn't heard from her for a few years. And I was like, ooh, all this anger in her voice. I was like, that's not the voice I know for this lady. She's got a beautiful resonance. But in this moment, it was like, "Urgh." And because she was able to take on what I was saying, I said, we need to work on this anger because I can hear it in your voice. But when she listened to it back in herself, she went, oh my God, I didn't realize I sounded that angry. To actually hear it back was really shocking. It was like, like really. And so sometimes I did say in a little video I made today on my Facebook was, record yourself. I mean, make sure the other person is open to you doing this, but just record a random conversation that you're having with someone and then just listen to it back. And, you'll be like, ooh, like, how do you feel about what you heard in your random conversation? Because that's going to help you be insightful to, if you feel like you're having communication problems and people aren't hearing you, or this is happening, or people are angry with you, then you can hear how you're speaking in conversation and how you come across to people. And in general, most people, maybe not us, but most people are not used to hearing their own voice. And so they're shocked when they hear themselves. They're like, oh, they feel really like it's the hardest thing they've ever done. But it is the gift that keeps giving, in my opinion.
I find it uncomfortable myself. I don't sit watching myself. You know what I mean? There are some things I just do it. When I was on television, they would call me one take Danny. They'll just get it done, just get the shot, or do the monologue, or deliver the news, or whatever it was, And so I find it uncomfortable. And sometimes you're right. You hear yourself, and I think, God, I sound like a right bitch, or a right moaning, Myrtle. Or I may have thought that I've come across as really aggressive. Actually, it hasn't been. And other times I'm like, oh, Danny, like, rein it in, like, chill out. It is so interesting. And there's always an aspect that we don't think we're doing it, but others are perceiving it. It is not meant, but it triggers them. But ideally, it triggers them into some kind of, evoking of a healing or a letting something go, because we have to remember we're also mirrors for each other. Like, we are mirrors reflecting back, and so what we put out is going to be reflected back no matter where it is that we need to receive it. I mean, it's really incredible times. If we could just, we're going to bring this to a close shortly, because Andrea, as you said, we lost you and you went off on a different timeline for 6 months. We're so glad you're back.
Ginny.
Yeah, I know, Ginny. I was just saying, Ginny going off and for 6 months and came back really quick. That was a really good time travel there, Ginny. But you mentioned to Andrea and I earlier that you really wanted to share the story about your new puppies that you got. Please share.
Yes. So 4 weeks ago on Monday, our beloved little dog of 8 years, rescue dog, we had her euthanized. She had stage 4 cancer. It was really difficult, especially for my husband. She did everything with him from the time he woke up, and then at night, if she rolled over, he knew. If she breathed funny, he knew. If she was dreaming, he knew. Like, they did everything together. They fed the horses. They did everything. It was really hard. That night, I went to sleep. In the middle of the night, I'm woken up. I'm here. And I said, oh, who are you? And the little voice said, I'm your new puppy. And I said, oh, how's this going to go over with my husband? This is soon. And I said, well, okay, how do I find you? I'm going to find you. I said, okay, all right. So the next morning, I woke up, went about my day. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I got a text from a lovely woman I had met 5 years prior. She moved, we were involved in a near-death experience group together in 2018. So she moved in 2019. So 3-4 years I hadn't seen her. She relocated to Phoenix. That afternoon, she texted me and said, we bred our Labradoodle and we have 7 puppies. If you know anybody that would be interested in a puppy. And there were 7 photographs of puppies in the text. And I went, boom, 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 boom. That's the dog that talked to me last night. So I said, yes, the butterscotch dog, you know, on the left or whatever. I said, I think that's my dog. She said, Ginny, I've never communicated with an animal in my life. And for the last 3 days, this dog has been telling me he's going to live with you.
Oh.
He's been telling me I'm going to live on a horse ranch and showing me a picture of the top rail fencing that you have on your property. But I've never been to your property and I didn't know that. So I went through Facebook thinking, who do I know that lives on a ranch? And she said, I saw a post you made last week. Now, I don't normally do videos of my ranch, but the last week, for some reason, I was telling this cute story about an animal communication client I had, and I thought, such a lovely Sunday afternoon, just let me, you know, the breeze is blowing in the trees and it's so beautiful and we have all new landscaping. So why not just show this beautiful picture while I'm telling the story? She watches the video and says, that's Ginny's property. That's the picture the dog was giving me. That's where the dog is going to live. The exact fencing. And she said she had never seen that fencing in her life. So I said, yeah, okay, that makes sense. So that weekend we went down to see the puppies. And here's where it gets complicated. 7 puppies are in this puppy playpen. My husband walks up, 6 of them run out of the playpen and attack him. One of them stays in the playpen, sits, looks up at me and says, nobody wants me.
Oh,
And I said, oh, honey, believe me, somebody's going to want you. And I'm trying really hard not to fall in love with this dog because my husband doesn't really even want one more dog. He's so heartbroken over. He literally said to me, I guess I'm telling thousands of people, we buried her in our backyard. He said the morning after, I just wanted to lay down on her grave and die. He's really suffering, really sad. So I didn't want to upset him. And can we have 2 dogs? And I thought, but in my heart right away, it was like, oh, you're coming with me. But I knew I had to give it time. So we were there for about a half an hour. We're trying to get all the puppies back in the playpen. Nobody's agreeing to that. So the 3 of us adults, my husband and the lady, whose name is Lottie, and she's a naturopathic doctor, and she's going to interview me on her podcast next week, and we're going to tell the story all over again. We went into the puppy pen. So we're standing in the puppy pen. All the puppies come in, and the puppy that came to me in my dream walks over to me, sits down, looks up at me, and says, I choose you. And I'm like, yep, I choose you too. You're coming home with me. He turns around, lays down, puts his chin on the back of the little black female dog that told me nobody wants me. I looked at Lottie and I said, oh, isn't that sweet? And she said, Ginny, the his name is Frankie. Frankie has been telling me that she's going to live with him for a week ever since we connected. So we looked at each other, we got really big eyes, and I said, well, do you think out loud, do you think we might go home with 2 puppies? And we both turned to look at my husband, and he's down on his knees with another black puppy, falling in love, and says, yes, I think I've chosen one. So in my heart, I can't interfere with my husband's falling in love, and I think it's inappropriate to ask him for 3 puppies, within a week of the death of our dog. So I don't say anything about the second one, and thankfully Lottie didn't say anything either. Weeks go by. We're supposed to pick Frankie up and this other dog whose name is Daisy, in like 2 weeks. And Lottie is texting me, no, this other dog is supposed to be with you. These 2 dogs are for you. They're for your work. These are amazing souls. And I said, I know, but please give me time. I have to talk to my husband. So a few weeks go by, and we're about to pick up the 2 dogs, and the other dog still wasn't. Her name is Honey. Her name has always been Honey. She still wasn't adopted. And so I talked to my husband and I said, I am in love with this little dog, and I am sure she is supposed to be with me. How possible is it that we could handle 3 puppies in our 50s? He said, we've done it before, and if you love her that much, then that's fine. If she doesn't get adopted or purchased, by the time we pick up our dog, she's ours. And I added something. I said, if she gets purchased and in her entire life she is ever returned, can we please be on the emergency contact list? He said, yes, she's our dog no matter what. So I called Lottie and I said, we'll take the other dog under these circumstances. That evening, about 5 or 6, I got a text. Honey's been purchased. She's on her way home with her new owner. Isn't it great? I start crying because at the deepest soul level, I know, no, that's wrong. I am bawling for a half an hour. I'm not kidding you. I was crying for a half an hour. I texted, that's wonderful. That's all. I'm so happy for her. Because what could you do? She was already on her way to somebody else's house. My husband came in the room. Why are you crying? I said, Honey's been purchased. Look, we have a picture. She's in the other person's home already. I feel this is wrong. And I was bawling. He started crying. He said, oh my God, I think you're right. I'm so sorry. Is it my fault? I said, it's nobody's fault. It's nobody's fault. I said, we have to trust the universe. We stopped crying. An hour later, we get a text. Honey's coming back. The people are bringing her back. I had said, if she gets purchased and brought back, she got purchased and brought back. I went on PayPal, made the deposit immediately. So now we have 3 puppies.
It's so lovely, so lovely. Let me tell you a very quick story. Years ago, a friend of mine and her husband, he's in a wheelchair. He's a beautiful man. They bought this puppy from a window, from a pet shop window, a little black and white puppy. They brought this beautiful dog home, and then my friend said, we had to leave her sister behind. And it was like a punch in my chest, in my throat. I was gutted. I had such an energetic punch. I'm like, I have to go get this puppy. I have to go get this puppy. And my husband at the time did not want a flipping dog. He did not. We just moved into a new apartment. No, there was no dog rule, and it was all this. We drove 80 miles, and this teeny tiny little baby girl was in this window, no water, boiling hot sun, like just wicked. It was a wicked, terrible scene. So my gut was right to go get this baby. So I bring her home, and very quickly, we're not allowed to keep her. We just signed a lease, a year lease, and it's just, I'm like a mess, an absolute mess. I'm devastated. And I said to my friend, I have to let her go. I'd named her Millie at that point. She'd followed me everywhere. She was a little tiny, teeny tiny cockapoo, cocker spaniel with poodle, yeah, the poo bit, the poodle, cockapoo. Anyway, long story short, I said, look, I'll give her away. I paid $800 for her. This is such a lot of money that it was ridiculous. But anyway, so she says, I think I know someone who might take us. This woman comes to my house. She's half Chinese and half white. And she says, my mum and dad have just lost their chihuahua after 18 years and they are beyond broken. They are beyond broken. And she said, as soon as my friend Liz told this woman about Millie, she said, I just got this sudden punch in my chest that I have to come and see this puppy. Now that I see her, I have to take her to my parents. Can I have her? So I said, absolutely, yes. So I let the lady have her. Well, that man and that lady that had lost their chihuahua for 18 years, they fell so deeply in love with this little girl, with little Millie. And she was so funny because I don't know what it is. I used to look at her and think, oh no, I can't look, because she was like this. She had really like goofy teeth. I was like, she was such a beautiful. That's why she was the last run, because she had these sticky out teeth and people were mean, and Anyway, so I tell you, this mom and this dad, this older couple, they loved and they doted on her, and it was everything to them. 6 months later, the husband died. But the journey from me getting to get that baby girl, to bring it, to realize I can't keep her because I wasn't meant to keep her. It was meant to go to that lady. So when the love of her life, they've been married for 56 years. They were everything to each other, but they put so much love into this little girl, Millie. It was just saved the day. I love that story. Just so beautiful. I just love the animals too, and it's so nice to kind of round things out with a softening story. I know that we have to wrap this up. We've got other meetings to get to, and it was hard for the three of us to get together because of all of our schedules. But I'm so happy that you're here and sharing, guys, and you guys up there. I'm pretty sure you'll learn a tip or two today for your spiritual security and hygiene. Last words, Ginny, from you, please.
Oh, yeah, pay attention to your own energy. It would serve all of us well to try to remember. And I forget. So I'm not pointing my finger from on top of the mountain down at anybody else. I forget. And it's because I worry about other people so much constantly. I forget about myself. And so many of us do that, especially ladies. Men do it too. But looking at our own energy and what can we do? Have we been out in nature? Have we put our bare feet on the ground? Have we taken a salt bath? Have we scanned our energy field? Have we done the spiritual car wash? Because that spiritual car wash, if you've never done it and you do it, you're going to know what it feels like to feel your own energy for the first time.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Ginny. And Andrea Fowlkes.
Well, I shall be going because you might have heard the phone ring then. That's my dad, who's 95. So I usually speak to him just before he goes to bed, because at that age, you never know how long you're here. So yeah, I think that's the thing, making sure, especially, with me thinking about old people, having dealt with old people, my mum and dad, it's like you've got to look after yourself if you're looking after elderly people right now, or, elderly, I call them elderly toddlers. So elderly toddlers, small children, responsibilities, you've got to, like we've all just said, look after yourself, pace yourself. I always say this whole life journey and the spiritual journey is not it's not a 100-meter sprint, it's a marathon. So you have to pace yourself, and especially if you're working with other people, you really need to pace yourself.
Absolutely brilliant words from two very wise and beautiful women who are devoted to love for self and love for humanity. And my sisters, I'm very grateful for your time today, as we're in the end and the thrashings of this spiritual war. It's wonderful to bring forth gifts for free for the people out there watching. And to you guys out there watching, thank you so much for being here. Please do share your experiences with others, and share these tips around, share this broadcast. We need to do all we can right now to really hold each other, to really love each other, and to give gifts for free where we can, because that's a truly wonderful thing to do. So I send you my love, guys, and I will see you soon.
Much love.
Woo! Oh, I think we're still recording. I had to pull my headphones out.